In this video, we're going to learn what blade components are and how we can integrate them inside our Laravel application. Now, blade components are a subset of blade templates that let you create new, custom, reusable PHP and HTML files. Now, in order to create a new component, we need to go to the terminal and type the following command, which is the PHP artisan make component, followed by the name of the component. And once you click on enter, then you will see component created successfully. Now what this command does, it will create two files. It will create a PHP file where we have a class that inherits from component, and it will also create a blade file where we can type the reusable HTML code. Now if we go inside the newly created PHP file, then you will see inside here we have a constructor. And we also have a render method that will return the blade file that is inside the components folder. Now, if we head over to the blade file that is inside the resources and inside views, then we have a components folder created. And inside here, you will find an empty div container. Now, to better understand the concept of components, I will create an example that will show you some functionalities on how we can use the components. Now, as an example for this tutorial, I will create a reusable component to list all the cars that are stored inside our database. Now, just to show you what the database table contains, I will head over to the phpMyAdmin, and inside here we have 3 records. As attributes, I'm using the name, which will hold the name of the car, and I'm using the color and the horsepower as well. Now, before I start integrating the component that I'm going to use for this example, I will head over to the index blade file. Now, inside here, I am using the model car, then I am getting all the records from car and I am assigning it to the cars variable. Then I have created a for each loop to iterate inside the car records, and for each iteration I am printing the car name inside a list element. Now let's head over to the routes file. So inside the routes and inside the web.php file, I have created a route that will return the index blade file inside the cars folder. Now let's head over to the web app, and inside the URI let's write /cars. As you can see, we're getting the car names listed. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a blade component instead that will list the car name, the car color, and the car horsepower as well. So to do that, I'm going to the terminal. And inside the terminal, I'm going to type PHP artisan make component. And the component name is going to be car. So hit on enter, and now let's head over to the PHP file. And as you can see, we have the 2 methods pre-created. So now let's go inside the blade file. As you can see here, we have the empty div container as well. So now let's head over to the index blade file, and inside here I'm going to delete that because I want to replace it with the empty component that we are using. Now, when we call the component, we apply the same syntax as with any HTML tag. The only difference though is that we add an X and a dash before the component name. So now let's save the file and go to the web app. As you can see, we are getting nothing because we are using an empty blade component. Now to change that, we need to pass some properties inside the blade component. So to do that, we need to write a semicolon prefix that will tell Laravel that the content of the props will be a PHP expression or a variable. So in our case, it's going to be a variable, and I will assign the name property to the car name that we are getting from the iteration. So now once we have that, we'll go to the car.php file. And inside here, we need to create a public variable called name, since this is the attributes that we are calling. And I'm going to pass the name as a parameter inside the constructor. And inside the constructor body, I am going to initialize the object property. So this name is going to be assigned to the name variable. So I'm going to save this. And now let's head over to the blade file. And inside here, I'm going to call the name variable inside the curly brackets. So name. Let's save it and go to the web app. as you can see, we're getting the car names listed. So now let's go back to the index.plate file where we are calling our component, and inside here I'm going to remove the semicolon prefix. So now let's test it. As you can see, we are getting the values listed as a normal string. Now the reason for that, as already said, is that the semicolon prefix serves as a convention that tells Laravel that the content of the props will be a PHP variable. So next what I'm going to do, I'm going to apply the same logic with the other attributes as well. So I'm going to add the semicolon prefix followed by the color attribute, and I will set it equal to car and color. And I'm going to do the same thing with the horsepower. So once I have created the properties and I have assigned them to the iteration, I will go to the car.php file and I will initialize them as an object property. So let's do that. So inside here, I'm going to call the color variable and the horsepower variable. I will put them inside the constructor parameter. And then I will initialize them. So once I'm done with that, I will head over to the blade component file. And inside here, I'm going to call the color and horsepower. So I'm going to replicate this. So let's change it to color. And let's change it to the horsepower. So now save the file, and then I will go to the web app. So as you can see, we're getting all the database values, and we did that using the blade components. So that is for today's video. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys could learn something from it. Leave a like and a subscribe if yes, and see you next time.